Hello, so time for a usual stream on a Sunday. Managed to make it pretty much on time. So, yep, not much to say. If people want to see certain bits of equipment and it's easy to get out, we'll get out for the stream. Otherwise, it will just be sort of a case of answering questions as and when they appear. What about the cloud? Yeah, I'm all right, Finn, thank you. Hello, Daniel. Hello, Charlotte. Although I think the person who Charlotte says they're using somebody else's account, if I'm remembering the right person, but yeah. So yeah, been at work today, obviously finished work now, doing a stream, getting loads and loads of views on that hazmat suit video, which is pretty impressive. I like both tea and coffee, but at the moment I drink more coffee than tea. I've just got water at the moment, plain old drinking water. What's this then? I'm not going to search something that sounds a bit dodgy unless you tell me what it is first. You can own them, Alex, but you have to apply for the right sort of licenses. Toxic boy with loads of X's in his name, so can I say hello to him? Hello. So basically, shotguns are easier to obtain than rifles, and rifles, again, certain calibers are easier to obtain than others, all mine deactivated or replicas. Right, Chris? Hello, Peach. Royal Marines what? Sorry, Tris. Because you said, do you have a British Army World War II Royal Marines? But the Royal Marines are obviously like a regiment in the Navy, technically, if they're Marines. Yeah, don't forget to like the stream. What is it? What, like a mother of all bombs thing? Right, I'll search it and I'll hope I'm not going to regret it, so just give me a second. Like a thermobaric weapon kind of thing, is it that sort of thing? It's not coming up with any results when I literally copy and pasted what you said into Google. Yorkshire tea is much better than PG tips as it's stronger per... No, I'm not getting that down again because every time I get it down, it's a pain in the ass to put back. You're making a slingshot rifle, are you, Peach? Don't let Slingshot Warrior know, or he'll be asking you every day how far you've got with it. Royal Marines, not as far as I'm aware, if you mean like stuff from them specifically. Obviously, I've got a bit of old British Army equipment, like helmets and things like that, but I don't specifically know if they were assigned to anybody. But if you're on about thermal explosives, you'll mean like thermobaric, aren't you? So I know what that is. As I've said before, lots of times I do a kitchen porter job at the weekends, Finn, but I'm not going to exactly say where, am I? Because that's not a great idea. Also, what I will say again is, if anybody thinks they've been blocked, I know they can't post in the chat if they think they have been. You want me to unblock them, just say so. Because at the moment, Acme on my, who's on the Discord thing, basically says what he wants to do is try and improve relations with people, on all the different communities so people stop bickering with each other. And I said, I'm all for that. But, I thought I'd say again, if anybody thinks they're blocked and wants an unblock, just ask. If you have to ask through somebody else's account or whatever, and I can check the name on the list, and if it's on there, I can let you back on. Are you on about the... No, is that the one with the wiper on it that they used in Chernobyl? That's like a Fraser industrial mask, isn't it, technically? How Orwellian? It depends in what regard. In terms of, do you have to be careful about what you say online unless you get done under some sort of very strange Orwellian legislation? Yes. Do you walk around in fear of the thought police every day? No. Most CCTV is generally privately owned stuff, like, where people have their own cameras for their own security, or like, prosecution of criminals, if, like shops and that. But a lot of it is a meme kind of thing, saying that, the UK government is literally... I didn't get a link last time I looked, but he said to me about it, Chris. But yeah, I'll check Discord later on again. I don't know if that's like, is that going to be a voice chat thing, or is it just going to be people can leave messages and sort of chat to each other that way? It's probably easiest with messages, I think, because that way not everybody has to be on at the same time. Which model 74 is it? What nation? Is that the Romanian one? Because if it is, I don't have any Romanian masks, but a lot of them are M65 copies. All right, cool, Psycho. You can do it via Super Chat if you want, or Patreon, Finn. They're the only two real ways you can do it. David, I've already said I'm not getting it down. Don't keep asking a question if I've already answered it. What about my video on it diving suit 10? Cool. I prefer the AK-74. Not that I've shot either, but the thing is with AKs is the 74's the cartridge closer to 5.45, isn't it? Yeah, as I said, I know what a thermobaric weapon is earlier. Oscar, you asked, I said, is it a thermobaric weapon? You said, search this thing, and oh, it's a thermobaric weapon. No, I don't have Streamlabs. That's been asked before, but no, I don't have it. I just stream via YouTube. I very much doubt you'd have got asbestosis from a GP5 filter, but it's not a good idea to breathe through them. Yeah, Oscar, you can, but not many people do. Well, again, as I've said, I've only got deactivated ones, but Lee Enfield's pretty old, if you know, by World War II. What does that mean? Me like something radioactive? Mine from DNB Militaria, Mr. Ginge, but you can get them in a few places. Chat's actually pretty active tonight, so sorry if I'm not keeping up with all the messages. I mean, I'm only trying to chat with people who are leaving the sensible messages, but what would I be doing with it on a stream? You can't exactly. And annoyingly, the edge of the katana is already damaged because it turns out katanas aren't great at chopping metal. What's wrong with Russia, Calio? Thing is, I don't like getting involved in people like, can we slag off this country or slag off that country? What's the point? That's interesting. I have to check out that. But yeah, I've always liked AK-74s because it's basically, you know, the AK style gun, isn't it? Just in a caliber that's a bit more. It's not mainstream. I'm trying to think of the word for it, but you know, like closer to what's a more modern sort of cartridge rather than the old sort of heavy assault rifle cartridges like 7.92 Kurs and 7.62. You know, like 5.39. No, I don't have a Moss in the Gant. There's a Lee Enfield up there with a load of masks on it. Technically, that would look better if it was a Nagant there, wouldn't it, with the Soviet masks hanging off of it? But that's Lee Enfield. Well, it would definitely work, Oscar, but the problem is wearing a hazmat suit like that is pretty impractical for one person. As I said in the video, if you watched it, I don't want to sound insulting saying that. I'm just saying if you watched it, you'd know this is my opinion on it. The issue with a hazmat suit like that is very hard to take on and put on by yourself and get all the bits working on it. For most people, like a slimline, fast to put on NBC suit would be a lot better because it's complicated enough putting on a lot of NBC gear. So if you were, you know, trying to put on a suit, put on a backpack, set the positive pressure system up and all that, you know, there's a lot more, you know, you have to do with it than simply, no, the newest thing I've got radioactive, I've got a helmet coming soon. That's an interesting one. I think it's a Bulgarian helmet, if I remember right. But it's like one that's kind of like a Stahlhelm, but not like one of those sort of weird helmets. But the big hazmat suit's the newest thing that I did the video on. I don't have any problems with Turkey or the Turkish people, you know, as a thing. But I said I'm not going to get involved in this politics of can we insult random countries. That's interesting, Survive. I mean, weirdly, lighter videos actually get more views than gas masks. I guess they're a bit more mainstream. I think about £400, Mr. Ginge, a few years ago. They're probably more than that now. What do you mean, Adam? Like a dosimeter or something that measures bacteria? What sort of thing? Because when you say measures nasties, what do you mean by that? Because there's lots of things that could be nasty if they get you. Again, B-Store hasn't listed them yet, or he's not got any more in stock, and he sent me that one for free. How much it will be exactly when he lists it, I don't know. I've got a Geiger counter. There's Geiger counters in the background there. I don't even know what this Team Trees thing is, because people keep spamming it, and I've heard it's like some sort of big YouTube thing at the moment, but nobody's really explained it. They just go, oh, Team Trees. And I'm not going to keep looking up random things. I heard there was something about people donating trees or planting trees or something, but I've not really, looked into it. The thing is with YouTube, right? I don't look up a lot of mainstream things on YouTube. So most of the videos I look up on YouTube are very interest specific, or like if I need a video on how to do something and I don't know how to do it, where somebody's made a very good tutorial. Okay. So how does that work, and how do they guarantee it's actually going to be done then, Chris? Because that's the kind of thing I wouldn't mind donating to if there's a lot of transparency about how they're doing it. Because there's lots of things like that where people say, oh, for everything you donate, they do this. But I don't always trust things like that. And I say that as well because where I do charity volunteering, I would much rather volunteer my time for a charity than necessarily give them money. Because the problem is with a lot of charities is like half your donation can actually go to administration costs, which is like cars for executives. All right, thank you, Peach, of your caps lock. So a YouTuber called Mr. Beast is getting money to plant 2,000 plus trees. Right, the thing about talc, because a load of people keep saying this, talcum powder in theory contains asbestos, because Johnson & Johnson got sued over this actually not too long ago. The thing is with it, talc, I imagine you'd have to breathe in such a stupidly big quantity of talc, to risk lung damage, that if you bought a mask and you wipe the mask out and there's a little bit of talc left in it, I really wouldn't worry. That's interesting, Chris, yeah. If it's in good condition, yes, salmon. Sometimes they're cheaper than that, but again, with a lot of World War II masks, condition can really vary. Well, I still play Stalker. Do you mean will I play it on stream? I could do it at some point. The problem is, when I do a webcam stream like this, a lot more people watch. If I'm doing a game stream, a lot of the time people don't watch. And annoyingly, because of how YouTube works at the moment, well, it's been like this for a while, if you do a stream that not as many people watch, or you upload a video not as many people watch, YouTube won't send your videos out to as many people that are subscribed. So basically, they want you to kind of do a feedback loop thing of trying to get more people onto every video, which I don't really like, because then it puts people off. Hello, Jack. I haven't seen you on in ages. As I've said, I've already the only firearms I've got are DX. I've not got any firearms. The closest thing to firearms I've got are air rifles, but by definition they can't be firearms, even though the UK government considers them firearms if they were above a certain foot poundage. But mine are all legal. Yeah, this is a hard chat to keep up with tonight with all the things. If you see you, Daniel, if you're off. If you if you had a proper question and I've missed it, just repost it and I'll get to it. But if I've answered the question, don't keep asking it. If it's in good condition and you really want it, yeah, £60 for Mark IV isn't too bad. It's just Mark IVs can sometimes be gotten around £30 to £40 sort of price. The issue is that what was I going to say? Again, it's always finding them necessarily in good condition, and quite often with a lot of gas mask type stuff or any surplus, the more you're willing to spend, the faster you'll find something in a good condition. All right, there's a foul there. There's a Lee Enfield there, covered in stuff. Behind me, so not behind me, in front of me, which you can't see because it's behind the webcam, there's an M1 carbine. And down there in that corner, just there by the curtain, which is out of frame, I think. So let me move that and just tilt it down so you can see. There's an RPK and a PPSH. But again, it's quite hard to see them because it's too dark there. And I know that clock's wrong. I'll tell you what. There you go. It's not wrong anymore. Right. I've not actually ever used military grade sleeping bags. I imagine there could be good surplus ones, but the sleeping bag I've always used was just a fairly cheap one I got from a camping store at one point, but I don't go camping enough to make use of it. What you'd probably have to ask is the people who do really rough camping, you know, sometimes who don't even use a tent, where they just make a little shelter and then get into a sleeping bag. Yeah, it's a deactivated Yugoslavian RPK, as in the Yugo M72 it's called, and this is the AB1 model, which has a folding stock, which is quite funny. But yes, that's an RPK with a damaged thing. So this was only like, this was under 200 quid when I bought this years ago. Why would you eat cups of dirt? Howl Let Loose, what's that about then? I've heard of it, I think. Have I heard of it? Name sounds familiar. No, it's deactivated. As I've already said, you're not going to get RPKs and things functional in the UK legally. If I had a functioning RPK, I would not be showing it on the webcam, because that would be a very quick way to be raided by armed police, waving about, you know, live, essentially assault rifles or light machine guns. So I say it's called Howl Let Loose. Let me... So it's a realistic World War II first-person shooter. So is that like a Red Orchestra kind of thing, or is it more like a Battlefield kind of scale game? That'd be a sort of thing I could potentially enjoy if I got into it. The problem I have with a lot of games at the moment, well, not a lot of games, but, you know, the problem I've had before with some online games is I'll buy an online game, you know, unless it's like a full price one that I really want to play. I'll sometimes have the issue of I can't concentrate enough on it to get into it. You know, and because sometimes you keep dying on that on like the more realistic ones, because they have quite a steep learning curve, I never quite get into them, because I think the amount of time I'm going to have to invest to learn this game, I can't be bothered, I'll go do something else. I did 100% complete Spyro 2, the remake of that, the other day, from the Spyro Reflamed trilogy, whatever it's called. Reignited trilogy, is it? Yeah, Reignited. Because I bought that on Steam the other week, and yeah, I ended up just playing Spyro 2 like a couple of days straight in all my free time. When I wasn't doing like videos or working, and completing it. No, this would have been the Yugoslavian ones. I don't think were ever updated to 545, so it's the 762x39 version. Best gas mask under 20. Right, it's hard for me to say because it's going to depend on opinions, and it's going to depend on where you are. If I had to go on eBay right now and pick what the best gas mask would be for under £20, like in UK eBay, well, GP5M, but that's GOST. Do you want something that's NATO threaded? Because there's also like the Czech CM4, which you could probably get for that price, and that's not bad, but again, it's GOST threaded. You're going to probably struggle for under $20 to get, or £20, get a NATO threaded mask that's, you know, really good, unless you're just really lucky and find something. Right, Stu? So I don't know if you saw my thing I replied to you earlier, but yeah, flares were originally intended for military use, but basically all police use them on helicopters now. Do you mean on the hard plate, survive? Or do you mean, because you've got obviously like the ripstop kind of material that's the carrier stuff. Then inside the carrier, you've got the hard plate, and you've also got the Kevlar filler. So the Kevlar filler's just got like a waterproof thing put on it, which I guess would be a very thin bit of rubber or something. On the cover, there's no, the cover's literally just ripstop stuff, if I can show you. Hang on. It's the same as like the DPM thing. It's like, it's better than the DPM trousers and that. Like in MTP trousers in terms of thickness, but yeah, this is just fabric. So yeah, this is literally, there's no rubber on the, as far as I'm aware, there's no rubber here. And that's obviously just like nylon type stuff, and that's just fabric. If I open that up, obviously Velcro on it. Oh, the Osprey Mark IV, sorry, not the EC. I don't know what I'm thinking of the UCBA. Oh, it's not in this room, I'm afraid, so I can't check it easily, but I'm trying to think if there was any rubber in it. It's kind of, I still think most of the Osprey stuff, if I remember right, is still like fabric-y kind of stuff. Right, okay, we'll go through the threads on filters. So the old type of filters that were standardized were 60mm NATO. And again, I might be wrong on some of this info. Yes, I would agree radioactive gas masks that Hitler is scum, probably worse than scum. But anyway, let's go back to what we were saying. So there's 60mm filters, and they were kind of the old NATO type, and a couple of nations used them in World War II. Then you had what became 40mm NATO and the Soviet Union, because basically NATO and the Soviet Union, they were adversaries. They didn't really want to use, like the same kind of stuff in each. So, like how NATO had 5.56 NATO later on, the Soviets had 5.45. So 40mm GOST is like the Soviet filter thread. NATO ones were 40mm NATO. Now, obviously, the Cold War ended. The Soviet Union lost, basically. It collapsed in on itself. Russia still uses the GOST thread today. I think China technically internally, Hype said, still uses the GOST thread today, but most of their export masks are 40mm NATO or RD40. So NATO or RD40 filters, from what I can tell, are the exact same thing. It's just RD40 is the industrial name for it rather than saying 40mm NATO. But the thing is, when you say modern filters, is a filter doesn't actually have to be NATO, or GOST. Like the Scott GSR uses proprietary filters. The Avon M50 uses proprietary filters. So yeah, there's still not a one type of filter that every mask uses. But if you want the easy answer, which I've made very convoluted, GOST was the standard that the Warsaw Pact used. 40mm NATO or RD40 was the thing NATO uses. RD40 is a lot more common now than GOST is because more nations have gone to NATO filters. There's obviously like the Eastern Bloc collapsed, and a lot of those countries now join NATO. But, there isn't like one unique kind of modern filter. Lots of companies for hardware and like industrial masks still make their own brands of filters. No, let me look that up, because I do like we were saying when we brought whoever was brought up the Black Cauldron the other day. I can't remember if it was you, Stu. That was a good thing. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll keep a tab open on that and look at that later. As much as horse masks would be interesting, I don't know if I'd look after it well enough without damaging it, and they take up a lot of room. And as you might be able to tell from behind me, room is something that is not my friend at the moment. Do you like the L2 suit? I actually prefer the L1 to the L2 suit, but I suppose technically the L2 suit is better, isn't it? It's just the L1 suit I like because it's the separate top and bottom half. I used to smoke cigars and pipes, occasionally cigarettes, but I didn't really like cigarettes. So now I've quit smoking. I vape still, but there's not even a consistent amount of vape. I'll sometimes go days without vaping, some days vape a lot. Drink alcohol, yes, but not all that commonly. To be honest, it's weird. Like when you're a teenager, you tend to do it a lot. And I know obviously some adults who drink a lot as well, but I like it on occasions, and there'll be sometimes where I'll feel more like drinking than others, but a lot of the time I just don't really. The thing is, a lot of things that mess with your head too much, if you take too much of them, I don't really like doing just because I don't like mentally where it can put me. I don't know why there's a random person saying he'll give me stuff. Thank you, but there's no way you can send it me, I'm afraid. Dream car to own. Oh, can a tank type thing be asked in that, or does it have to be technically a car? Because at the moment, I'm really happy with my Dacia Sandero because it was cheap to buy. Like I said before, it was under 9 grand. Or it was just over 9 grand, but it was like the one that would have been 12 grand. It was a pre-reg. So for buying a car of like 40 miles on the clock that was a showroom car, I got like 3 grand knocked off. In terms of, it's cheap to run, cheap for replacement parts. So I do like that as an actual everyday car as much as, there are more desirable cars. The Sandero is just very good for what it is. Run around car. If it had to be a dream car, I'm trying to think if there's any really cool old sort of prototype cars or military cars. But then again, you've got the issue of bits costing too much. All right, Mike? The thing is, for novelty's sake, I would kind of like to say something like a Trabant or a Lada, just for the fun of it. But the thing is, I imagine I'd actually get annoyed with it quite quickly, just because of the lack of modern quality. And I know Lada make modern cars still, because they're partially owned by Renault, aren't they? Or fully owned by Renault. I'm sure it's meant to be pronounced Renault, isn't it? Or whatever. I'm going to call them Renault because I'm English, not French. But The thing is, I'd much rather have a lot of military vehicles. A military vehicle I would really love to own, let's put it this way, and it's an armoured car, so I guess it can count, is it the BTR 152? It was like the late 40s BTR, or like mid 40s BTR, I think it was from. Let me have a look when the BTR. But I've always really aesthetically liked the 152. Right, the BTR 152, also known as the BTR 140, was a six-wheeled Soviet armoured personnel carrier, literally armoured transporter, built on the chassis and drivetrain of a ZIS 151 utility truck. It went into service in the 1950s, so yeah, it wasn't World War II. Yeah, I was wondering, Mike, if you were going to be hungover today, because I thought if you're drinking till like 5 in the morning, whatever it was, there was a good chance of that, but... Yeah, cool, Psycho. What I said I'll probably do, because I don't want to necessarily voice chat and kind of spurg out at people or whatever. If it's all right with you, I'll just text chat with people, and then that way, you know, I can come and go, and that way I can read through things properly rather than, because like I said, I don't want to upset anybody or whatever, and I want to try and give very good replies, well thought out replies to things, rather than saying the first thing that comes to mind. So that way, hopefully I can explain things a bit better if I do it that way. It's just, I worry if, you know, I try and voice chat with people, I'll end up just rambling on about shit. But yeah, cool. I will give it a quick check after I finish the stream, say hello to everybody, whatever, and then I'll just check back on it every now and then. I've got a Twitch account, but I only use it to watch Weapon Collector on Twitch. Yeah, same with me, because the thing is, if somebody writes something and I have enough time to look at it and read it, generally I can act a lot better, whereas, you know, when it's voice chat, the issue is, like I said, yeah, you can sometimes take something the wrong. I mean, you can take something the wrong way as text chat. But I'm going to try and be as, you know, good odds as possible. Obviously, if anybody's wondering what we're on about, Psycho Gopher, who's I think Acme, his name is on the Discord things. He's going to try and stop a lot of us arguing on the you know, like gas mask community type stuff, because, like you said, it's not very nice for people trying to get into it if lots of people argue on it. And the thing is, I don't really want to have a problem with anybody on it. So, you know, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sometimes I just forget what people's names are if they've got different names on different things. So, yeah, it's just because I think, like I said, as I said before, I think it would be good for everybody if everybody could be more civil to each other. Because a lot of the time, because I said I don't want to keep bringing up drama and all that, is you'll get people come on to my videos and then they'll say, what's up with this person saying this about you, or why did you say this? You know, it's not, as I said, it's not productive, is it? Like I said, it'd be a lot better without drama. So anyway, yeah, let's go back to the chat on that. If that was just if people wondered what we were on about with that, it's just to hopefully have you know, everything being a bit better between people not arguing in YouTube comments or going on forums and then arguing with other people on there because they like my videos or don't like my videos or don't like other people. Well, the thing is, again, you could argue, is it a gas mask? Is it a respirator? Is it a protective mask? All that thing. I don't think it really matters personally, as long as people know what you're on about. Yeah, I get what you mean, Adam. Everybody knows what a gas mask is, but not many people think about them more than that, other than, oh, they were used to protect soldiers from poison gas. That's probably what most people think of when they think gas mask, isn't it? And they don't think any more than that. Okay, you are Suka Bliad, are you? Or Bliat, the mixer. So, if you're that person, why are you under a different name? Not that you're not allowed to post under a different name or whatever, it's just a bit confused. No, I don't have a PMK2, sadly. I've got the GP7 and the PMK1. But annoyingly, like PMK2s, PMK3s, a lot of those seem to be very expensive postage from Russia. Yeah, I like puppies. I like GP5, but sadly, we're not on about puppies at the moment. I've already had dinner, Callio, but yeah, if you're hungry, why not? Not really atomic arcs. They can block like certain particulates in the smoke, but they can't, you know, stop necessarily all the carcinogens in smoke. They won't provide you with oxygen. And again, this is on about filtered masks, isn't it? Because again, if you had a rebreather or you know, an air tank, that's not a problem. That's why firefighters use air tanks. But again, I think you'd be protected more than without anything having a mask on with smoke. But yeah, they don't stop carbon monoxide. A very interesting thing somebody told me as well, that was a firefighter and put this on the video comments, and I think I like favorited it or pinned it, he was saying another danger for firefighters is if you had a filter, even if the filter was blocking stuff, it wouldn't cool down the air. And he said if you're in like a burning building, the air can actually damage your lungs from the heat of it. So, that's another reason why air tanks are good, because the air going into your lungs is at a constant temperature. It's not going to be like 60 Celsius. Yeah. Don't they work more like scrubber units as well? The CO filters. Because if I have a feeling they work a bit more like rebreathers, where there's some sort of reaction that goes on when you break something in the filter. Because when I've looked those up, as far as I'm aware, that's how they work. When you first open the filter, it like breaks something open, which the carbon monoxide reacts to. What sort of World War II M1? Because M1 is just American for Model 1, isn't it? But 570 zloty or zloty, however it's pronounced, isn't that much, is it, in terms of pounds? It's like £100, is it? 100 to like £120. So for that price, it depends what sort of M1 you mean. But all right, Aiden, sorry. All right, sophistry. Geiger counter under the black. If you mean the SLR, yes, that is a Geiger counter. So yeah, you might hopefully hear it ticking from there. The microphone's not pointing at it. And just to prove it's a Geiger counter, here's some lovely uranium painted crockery. So yeah. That's the favourite of all my Geiger counters, by the way, if anybody was wondering. The SOXO1M is probably the most practical, but that's the only one I've got that can read alpha radiation. Oh, M1 helmet. Oh, there goes my bin. If it's an original... Oh, it's because the PPSH has fallen over. All right, great. Luckily that didn't knock the plug sockets over. Hang on. If it was something that would produce alpha dust, Adam, yes. With something like Fiesta, where I wouldn't bother. Remember, people used to drink and eat off of that stuff, which I certainly wouldn't do. I'm hopefully getting some strontium-90 to do some videos on. But when I get strontium-90, I am certainly wearing gloves to handle that. And I'm certainly washing my hands afterwards, just because strontium-90 is fucking scary stuff. But it's really cool stuff. I'll have to look up the Daimler Dingo. I'm sure, or is it Daimler? I can never remember how it's pronounced, but I know what a Willis Jeep is, obviously, a Willis Jeep. Dingo, because, it's more of an armoured car. As much as a Willis Jeep is, like, classic. Daimler, is it? Daimler. Thank you, Psycho Gopher. Well, they don't really stop you suffocating, Brian, unless you mean from certain effects of gas. The problem is with, let's say, just an average, military size 40mm NATO filter. It really depends what they're exposed to. You should always use them for evacuating somewhere, unless you're, a trained soldier that has to do something there. I think you'd probably at least get an hour or two from very heavy vapor sort of gas environments with most military filters if they're in date and you like recently popped the seal on them. But lots of filters are advertised like 24 plus hours, but I think that would probably be at low concentrations of certain gas. Because the thing is, you're not going to really want to stand there with a stopwatch, are you, to see does it last as long as the manufacturer claims? Because it's a bit hard to sue them if you die. So one for Daimler, one for Daimler. Tomato, isn't it? Although with brand names, I suppose there is probably a very correct way of pronouncing them. What's the favourite item in my room? Oh, that's a tough one. Because there's a lot of cool shit in here. The SLR is one of my favourites, obviously, like the Diak SLR. I've got crossbows in here. Loads of Milcert behind me there. The night vision's in here, so it's hard to say. Yeah, I know what sauerkraut is. I'm not a massive fan of it. I don't dislike it, but it's one of those things that, you know, I'd eat it if, you know, I was given it, but if I had a choice and it was on the menu, I'd probably pick something else. I'll show you the M1 I've got. If we're on about the M1 carbine. Hang on. It's got the bayonet lug, but I don't know what the defining feature is. Ah, okay, Chris. Yeah, it's kind of the one I think of is apparently it's like when I went to Hungary, I was told a few times it's like when you pronounce Budapest, you pronounce it Budapest because it makes like the sh noise when you do the end bit of like the word. So yeah, that's the thing though, where I'll say I went to Budapest because I pronounce it like that now, you know, after some Hungarian said that's how you meant to pronounce it. And then people go, oh, don't you mean Budapest? So it's, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, Budapest. So I guess it's a thing like that, isn't it? But again, unless you're a native speaker or have explicitly had it, you know, told you, you know, you're probably not going to pronounce it right unless you know. And even then, I bet there's a lot of people that would argue over that sort of thing. Because again, it's like in England and, you know, pretty much, I suppose, every country, you've got regional accents as well, where people pronounce different words differently. Because, you know, I don't say free properly, do I? Because I say free and free the same way. And we were having this conversation with Weapon Collector Mike on one of his videos where we were trying to work out free. Is it you're meant to say free like that and like roll it, but that just does not come naturally to me, and I'm not going to force the pronunciation. Oh yeah, you don't pronounce it Plymouth, do you? Or Plymouth. The one a lot of Americans don't know about Britain, which is one I'll point out to people now, because I know a lot of like very intelligent Americans who do this, and it's like a very easy thing to learn not to do. Or I hope it is anyway. So I'm from Oxfordshire, right? When you have somewhere that's got Shire in the name of it, not just if you had the Shire from Lord of the Rings, right? But let's say Oxfordshire, Manchester, you know, all those sort of ones. You never say the Shire; it's Shire. So you know, this is Oxfordshire. You say it like shear, not Shire, basically, like you were shearing sheep. Yeah, Worcestershire. Because yeah, Worcestershire. Have I got the Worcestershire source? But yeah, that'd be Worcestershire. But yeah, but that's one of the ones where there's even Americans I know who are, you know, like really smart people, you know, like very qualified at certain things, and then you hear them say like Buckinghamshire, and you're, oh no. Sure, that's just Kidderminster, isn't it? The pronunciation that there's the thing is, it's like, again, it's there's nothing wrong with it, because it's like you can't expect people to know all that stuff, but it's just one of those things where you sometimes think, oh, you know, it does sound a bit grating when people keep yeah. How do they pronounce Welsh? Is that we have a Welsh tea towel in the kitchen that's got a word like that that's really long. I think that was a castle by the lake or something it was short for. But yeah, I would have no chance pronouncing Welsh, and that's funny because they're like the next door neighbour country, aren't they? So Tricky Dick could do it, did he? Wyland fair per wide garden rare. I can't even do a Nick's impression saying it. Yeah, yeah, and it's actually spelt differently, Richard, as well. Because it's aluminum in American, it's actually spelt aluminum, but in British English, it's aluminium or aluminium. So sometimes you'll have Americans say you spelt it wrong or you pronounced it wrong, where actually our version of the word is aluminium, yours is aluminum. And the interesting thing is, it's the Webster's Dictionary apparently that changed lots of that, because after the War of Independence, the Americans kind of wanted their language to not be British English, which you can kind of understand, but they didn't want to speak French or anything else. So what they did is the Webster's Dictionary changed the spelling and pronunciation of certain words. That's why color doesn't have a U in it in America. It's like color, even though you still pronounce it color. It doesn't have a U in it. So it's why you've got some of those words where they're very different in American English to like British or English, whatever you want to call it. Store things in a trunk, but not a boot. A boot would sound Canadian though, but yeah, call it a boot. Do you call it the hood on the front? Because it's a bonnet here as well. It's boot and bonnet in the UK, normally, with most people I know. So in America, is it trunk and hood? Yeah, so trunk and hood, yeah. I'm sure you can get plenty of reproduction plague doctors' masks online. Bear in mind they don't stop anything because of miasma theory. Yeah, I don't know any Gaelic or anything like that. Literally none of those. I love my lift, says I like the GP5. Who do you want me to do an impression of then? Radioactive gas mask. I can't remember who it was on here that always gets very happy when I do an impression of like a very bad French accent. Harrot. That's not even French, is it? Well, the PC release of Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming out any day now, isn't it? Although I think it's going to be a month before it's not on the Epic Store or something. But yes, I will be buying it then. I've played it around friends' houses and that, but I wasn't going to buy a PS4 or whatever specifically just to play a console game. I cannot really do Russian voice. This is stereotypical Russian, but, you know, it probably sounds nothing like Russian. Got a shums on the way then? This is actual normal water, not vodka, so. Good morning. It is easier for me to do the crab tray incorrect pronunciation of French. Because for those of you that don't know what that's on about, it's Allo Allo, which is like a comedy series, like a really old one actually. Do I have my DVDs of Allo Allo in here? Hang on. Still in the bloody wrapper, because I bought the complete set when it was on Amazon. So there's running going, you stupid woman. But it's obviously a piss take. It's a parody series. And there's an English spy in it called Crabtree, who does a very, very bad French accent and pronounces all the words wrong. As in, you know, he's speaking English in the thing, but he's meant to be speaking French. But everything's pronounced completely wrong. These rustics are so inept. But isn't there a different variation of Gaelic for Scotland and Ireland? I don't actually know, but I imagine with a lot of things like that, they would change over time if they're separated by, you know, especially sea and a fair land distance, at least for, you know, back then before car travel and rail travel and everything. Yeah. Yeah, I like Spitting Image. Sadly, have they ever done like a good DVD release of Spitting Image or anything like that? But I do know some Spitting Image sketches. The funniest one I've seen out of all of them is where the Queen Mother gambled away all of the royal family's money and then they got put in a tower block. You know, like one of the kind of council estate tower block sort of things. But yeah, I like Spitting Image and all those sort of things. The one that I really like to get all of, and I don't know if they ever did a complete DVD. Do you remember Dead Ringers? Not, is it a Cronenberg film, Dead Ringers? Not that one, but the BBC did a piss take like TV series back when the BBC wasn't like so politically correct and scared of offending everybody. And that was where they had people doing like, you know, impersonations of people like George Bush, Tony Blair, and all that sort of stuff. And there was quite a few series of Dead Ringers. I have Dead Ringers Series 1 on DVD. But I don't know if they released the later series on DVD or if you can get them as a complete pack now for like not loads of money. But some of those are really funny, like pissing myself laughing, genuine levels of, it hurts because you're laughing so much levels are funny. But sadly, yeah, it's John Coleshaw, that's it. Or Coleshaw, however his name's pronounced, Mike. But yeah, you're completely right. That's who it was. Where he would be Tony Blair speaking like this. Yeah. I've not played Red Dead Revolver. It was the one before Red Dead Redemption, wasn't it? I've never played it. I played Gun, I think, which came out at a similar time to that. The thing is, I haven't really seen enough Dad's Army, which might surprise some people because, I like the sort of history of the time period and I like comedy things from around then. Not Aloha, because that's the one I was just showing them, wasn't it? Aloha. Heidi High was one I watched all of not too long ago, because when our Panto group did it as a summer show, where they wanted me to be Mr. Partridge, because at the time I'd never seen Heidi High, I ended up finding it was quite cheap to buy the entire box set of every series on Amazon, like a $5 or something. And then I just basically binge watched the entire thing so I could get into character as possible. Those rotten, horrible little kids, little shits. I don't think he actually says that in that because it was, like PG rated, whatever. But, nasty little bastards. Steptoe Son, yeah, there's also, what's the one? Because somebody said they reminded me of something in Mothers in the title, but it was a guy who had like a trench coat on. And he always fucked everything up. Some Mothers Have them or something like that, was it? Like, the person did it as a friendly piss take, and I thought it was quite funny because I could kind of see what he was saying. Yeah, Some Mothers Do Have them. Thank you. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. It's just I couldn't remember which one it was off the thing. I don't know if you've made a previous comment, Yellow Blue, because I think I might have missed one when the chat moved too fast, but the interesting thing of accents is apparently some people think now American accents are closer to old British accents than British accents are for the areas, but I don't know if I really believe that. But there's certainly stuff, yeah, I'd agree, where it's meant to take place in one place and the accent's wrong. Another problem you have a lot with accents is when people think of a posh English person, they have what's called is it pronunciated accent? And it is a fake way of talking. People don't actually talk like this. But it was the way I think the BBC and that taught people how to talk so their voice could be understood easily. But it's where like the posh English voice comes from. But people don't really talk like that. It's like a put on fucking tough kind of accent. People don't actually. So when Jacob Rees-Mogg talks, he wouldn't have talked like that normally. That's like it's like the similar thing America had was called the transatlantic accent. It's how Vincent Price talked, where they tried to make Americans sound kind of English, but not quite. Enunciated or enunciated, that's it, isn't it? We'll call it enunciated now, but yeah. But yeah, it's one of those things where if you hear people talk like that in certain things, they wouldn't have talked like that because it was kind of a thing done for radio and television. And a way for people to, sound upper class because they talk like this, where really people don't have an accent like this by default. It's not a regional accent. Michael Caine, yeah. You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. I suppose that's more just of a Cockney sort of hardman accent, isn't it, really? Red Faction Guerrilla, is that the more open world one that came out after Red Faction 1 and 2? I'm pretty sure I played that one, but I think there was one after that I didn't play. I can't remember what that one was called. The bloke died from that recently, didn't he? The oh dear, what a shame bloke. But no, I've not seen. I think I've seen episodes of that, but again, it's not one I've seen in ages. Faulty Towers, I've seen. Obviously, loads of Monty Python, I've seen. Like I was saying, Hello, even though I've not opened that box set, I have seen loads of Hello. Only Fools and Horses, all those. That's interesting. So they're teaching them how to speak to the army now. They just talk like normal people. Favorite Bond film? Good question. I could say On Her Majesty's Secret Service and really piss people off because I know a lot of people hate that one. I'm tempted to say License to Kill, but it's not really a purist Bond film, is it? Because it's more like Death Wish is a Bond film. Although Dalton is my favourite Bond, even though he's only in 2 films. I'll probably have to go with a Sean Connery one. Like, as much as Goldfinger's the easy answer, I'd probably go for You Only Live Twice. Because, you know, Sean Connery's the best Bond. Ralph? I want me to say Ralph, or are you talking to somebody else? Yeah, I have no idea, Chris, but yeah. What, as in, I'm from Liverpool? That sounds bloody Welsh. No, I can't fucking do it when you put me on the spot. That's the problem. I did not like Quantum of Solace. I know some people who genuinely like Quantum of Solace, but for me, it was too many shaky cuts. It literally gave me a headache watching it. And there's very few things like films or games. Far Cry 2 gave me a headache playing it. Like every fucking time I try and play Far Cry 2. Oh, it makes me nauseous. Like most games and films don't. But Quantum of Solace, with all the shaky cam quick cuts, fucking hell, that I cannot watch that film. No, because the problem is I might get accused of being racist if I start trying to do anywhere that's kind of like, you know, too foreign, if that makes sense. I like the earliest eras of Peaky Blinders. It's something like I'm still watching now because I've invested too much time in it. It's a bit like Game of Thrones. You know, it's getting considerably worse. Series by series. I haven't... Which one's Far Cry 5? Is that the one... like the more recent one? Because if so, I haven't played that. I think Far Cry 3 was the last one I played properly. Is Far Cry 4 the one that's in like fictional Nepal, or wherever it's meant to be, Nepal, like one of those sort of Himalayan countries? If so, that was the last one I played, but I didn't get that far into it. Yeah, I've seen Hardcore Henry, Weapon Collector Mike recommended that to me, and it was quite good, but no, it certainly can't do a Manchester accent. Yes, that's exactly what I mean, Adam. Have you seen the thing that always comes to mind, right? Have you seen the Mitchell and Webb sketch about the African Civil War, or whatever African country it's meant to be? Because there was a sketch they did on civil wars, and they were saying, "Oh, we're bored of reenacting the English Civil War all the time." And it'd be like if you're in America, the American Civil War, because you know, if you're a Civil War reenactor in one of those countries, that's the only Civil War you're going to be doing over and over. So then they're like, why can't we do an African Civil War? And then they're all wearing blackface, talking with really things like, we are going to stop if it's racist, aren't we? And then I'm not going to say what he says just because, you know, YouTube is very censor happy nowadays. But something about killing you with a big machete. And then it's stop. Yeah, it's very racist. Yeah, exactly. No, I don't actually have Netflix. I've got Amazon Prime and Shudder. Shudder's pretty good if you don't know what that is. It's like a £30 a year horror movie kind of subscription thing. They mostly have horrors and thrillers on there, and a couple of like weird sci-fi films and that. But for the money, Shudder is better than any of the streaming services, I think. Just because if you're interested in a specific genre like horror, £30 a year isn't really anything to stream loads and loads of HD movies. I'd probably die if I was in the Civil War, to be honest. Get shot, I don't know. Yep. We sometimes call them toasties over here. Grilled cheese sandwiches, but we've got a toasty machine in the kitchen, actually, where you cut the bread into shape. Then you put whatever filling in it you want. But again, it works well with cheese. And, like, you know, you can put some onions in and whatever else. And then close the lid, you know, for a certain amount of time. And then it makes a proper good toasty. Yeah, I've got V for Vendetta on DVD. Yeah, the Creep Show thing was on Shudder, and it was very good, Stu. Let's have a look what they've currently got on Shudder, because there's I'll go alphabetical for the movies rather than the TV series. I've seen if there's any particularly good films. There's a few Japanese like mafia films about the what were they called? Yakuza, was it? But I'm trying to think what things are on here that are really worth watching. They've got the original Blood Feast remastered in HD on there, which is a really Herschel Gordon Lewis's shocking cult classic. Blood and Black Lace, that's good. It's got a non-alcoholic Cameron Mitchell in it, because I think it's like a 50s or early 60s film, isn't it? Which is a Mario Bava giallo, one of the very early giallos. What else is on there that's worth? Dark Waters worth watching. Hideo Nakati's, or however his name's pronounced. Japanese horror film. Dead Snow 2 is on there. That's quite good. What else is on there that's good? Dario Argento's... Oh, yeah, he's actually produced it. He didn't make it, was it? It was Lamberto Bava. But Demons and Demons 2. Digging Up the Marrow, that was good. It has one of the blokes who's in a load of David Lynch stuff in that. Ray Wise, or Ray Wise, however his name's pronounced. He's very good in that. It's kind of somewhere between a dark comedy and a horror. Grave Encounters is on there, but I wasn't a massive fan of that. The Hell House films, not as in a Legend of Hell House, but like some fairly good found footage ones. Hellraiser 1 and 2 are on there. They're definitely worth watching if you haven't seen the original Hellraisers. Quite a few Rob Zombie films. Sam Raimi's Intruder, or he might have not directed it, but Sam Raimi's in it. Intruder's quite good. One of the reasons I found funny is a guy... I won't go into this because I don't want to upset somebody at work if I mentioned why, but it was, one of the people in it was very much like somebody I work with. Old Boy and a few like Korean things, not quite Hollywood, a thing about Ozploitation films, that's definitely worth watching. Nightmare Cinema's on there now, and I've heard that's good, so I have to watch that. Noroi the Curse, however it's pronounced, was fairly good. Dario Argento's Phenomena, that's all right. It's got what's her name in it, who's really fit, but probably when she was too young. What's her name? Jennifer Connelly. Yeah, she's in it. What else is there that was really good? Society, Brian Yuzna's Society. If you've not seen that, that's very interesting. I'll go back to the chat in a minute. Street Trash, I watched that somewhere else, but I've seen Street Trash, and that's like a fucking horrible film, but it's worth watching if you haven't seen it, I guess, if you like shitty films like that. The Bay, I quite like The Bay. The Borderlands is on there, that's pretty good if you like found footage horror. The Changeling, that's a proper film with George C. Scott in it, isn't it? The Divide, that's alright, that's in a Fallout shelter. Green Inferno, although it's not really as good as some of the old Italian cannibal films. A few things done by what's his name, like The House by the Cemetery, Lucio Fulci, however it's pronounced. The Mutilator, which I'd already seen a shitcase cinema review of before I watched it, so I just found it really funny, like when the guy's showing the pictures of dead people, like it's a perfectly normal thing. Like, you just take photos of dead people, because why? The Void's on there, that's pretty famous. What We Become, which is a zombie film which kind of had realistically done NBC gear in it. I don't think it's on here anymore, unfortunately. But a film that was on here I watched twice when it was on here because it was quite good is Turkey Shoot, which is like an Ozploitation thing, a bit like The Running Man that came out before The Running Man. I'm not a massive fan of Hellraiser 3, Stu, but 1 and 2 are very good. I actually think 2 is better than 1, especially the soundtrack. Because the soundtrack done by what's his name for Hellraiser 2 is very good. Christopher Young, is it? Have you seen The Muffin Man? Yeah, the thing is, I don't think The Green Inferno was a bad film. It's just because I've watched quite a lot of because I really like Italian cinema, even not good Italian cinema. I've seen a lot of those old cannibal exploitation films, whatever they call those. So the problem is when you watch The Green Inferno, it's just like, oh, right, somebody's just basically taking little bits from a lot of these movies. But, it's fine. It's probably easier to watch for a lot of people than the old Italian ones, where they killed real animals on screen, which isn't really all that good. Like the one where they cut up the squirrel monkey. Is that Cannibal Holocaust? Try and talk without an accent, Adam says. New Vegas was the best, says Adrian. The Muffin Man. Yeah, I prefer Hellraiser 2. The Doctor is in. The line I really like from Hellraiser 2 is, "To think I hesitated." But yeah, it's more interesting when you're an adult and watching Hellraiser and you go, oh, there's people who are definitely into this like a kink, isn't there? Well, because smoking's not good for you, Bowser. It's up to you if you want to do it or not. But I quit smoking because it's not good for you, and it was something I could quit, so I might as well. Grave Encounters is a found footage film about like people trapped in an asylum. It's not that original. Like Blair Witch is still a much older and better found footage film, but I don't mind found footage films. There's a good Australian one called The Tunnel, which is quite easy to find because I think they legally released it for free on YouTube, like the company that made it. So I'd recommend watching The Tunnel. That's quite good. It's about like people investigating like people disappearing in like one of the metro kind of places. Yeah, I know Julie of No Skin is your favourite bit, Mike. Yeah, I saw Joker at the cinema. It's very good, isn't it? Well, I thought it was very good. I know a lot of people hate it, but the thing is, it's more about, in my opinion, like why you shouldn't fuck around with people with mental illnesses and shouldn't cut treatment to them. Where everybody go, oh, it's going to make all these incels shoot up the cinemas or whatever. Don't see the Joker, and it, it's done really well for an R-rated film, which is good because, I wish there were more adult comic book films done rather than, kid-friendly PG-13 ones. Get as many fucking kids in the cinema as we can, make all that box office money. Grave Encounters is probably like on Amazon Prime. It's on Shudder, Roberto, like I was saying. But I really like Joker, but I said I'm not a Batman fan. Like I really like the Tim Burton Batman film, and I like the Adam West Batman, but the Nolan Batmans didn't do anything for me. I was like, Comment deleted by FBI. No, I don't think I've seen a film called Area 51, if that's a found footage film. I've seen a couple of found footage films that have aliens in them, but I've not seen one called Area 51. Yeah, that's the thing. I reckon a lot more people went to see it because of the title. I only went to see it because I was like really highly recommended by people, I know who like movies similar to me. Because there's a load of people, if they go, oh, watch the latest Marvel film, I never will because I don't like those sort of films. But, there's some people I know that if they say they liked it, I think, no, it'll be worth checking out because they have very similar views on films to me. To me, it was very similar to, I know other people have said this, Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy. But also it reminded me a bit of Death Wish, the original Death Wish. Because when he kills the three guys on the train, it very much reminded me of the bit on the first Death Wish where Charles Bronson shoots the muggers on the train. Yeah, the thing is, Richard, I don't really care about any of these stupid online things, like feminists, incels, FOTS, all this sort of stuff. It's just pointless. Like, why do you want to get wound up about what people call each other online? No atomic arts. I can't speak Russian. Other than like Das Vidanya and Niet, is it? Or Niet, however it's pronounced. The thing is, Adam, as I've said before about a lot of things, I think we have lots of issues in Western societies. I've gone on about this before, but I think it's worth reiterating, where lots of people truly aren't very happy, and then people seek escapes, to try and become happy through drugs or whatever else that's basically quite self-destructive. And when everybody tries to start blaming it on the drugs, they're essentially, blaming the symptoms of a problem. Like, people don't take heroin because they think it will be fun, let's just take heroin, for the most part. Like, people, for example, might start heroin because they were abused as children. They have miserable lives. Same reason a lot of people become alcoholics. They want to forget about things that's happened to them, all that sort of stuff. So, but the problem is lots of people don't want to acknowledge that because then they might have to do something about it. So, hopefully you get what I'm getting at, but... Yeah, Falling Down, that was another film I thought of. Yeah, thank you, Sam. Yeah. But yeah, it's like a lot of those either vigilante or like revenge films, isn't it? Or films about somebody who's not quite there. 1 Hour Photo, although it's not exactly like 1 Hour Photo, that's another film you might like if you liked Joker. That's the one where Robin Williams plays like the creepy kind of loner guy who works in a photography store. And you kind of have a combination of feeling sorry for him, but also being quite worried about what he's going to do. Where can you get airsoft guns? It will completely depend on the laws on your country. In your country, in some countries, airsoft's completely illegal. If it's like the UK, you can get them, but they have to be two-tone, unless you find someone willing to sell them to you without a UCARA, or if you have a UCARA, then you can get them like single solid colors. In some countries, you can probably buy them, no restrictions on whatever. Evening, Vladimir. I'm not going to be on too much longer, but I'll stay on a few more minutes. Yeah, I like Shutter Island. Don't spoil it for anybody that hasn't seen it, though, in the chat. Because the thing is, I quite like Shutter Island. I know a lot of people didn't, but I've watched it a couple of times over the years because I've got it on DVD. So I never saw it when it first came out, but you know, it's one of those films like every 2 or 3 years I might rewatch it, and I always enjoy it watching it. But I quite like the ambience of it. I always like something where somebody's, you know, stuck on an island and it's rainy or windy or whatever. I just think it's got really good atmosphere to it. I've seen old Winnie the Pooh cartoons, but if you mean if there was a Winnie the Pooh movie, no, I've not seen that. Du besprechen Duchen. So it's do you speak, I guess, and then I don't know what that language is. Is that Dutch? But I guess not. It's not Deutsch, is it? Because that would be German. But... All right, see you, Lisov, or Lisov, however it is, perhaps. No, I've not seen Stephen Crowder's Change My Mind. Yeah, No Country for Old Men's very good, and also There Will Be Blood. They both came out the same year, and both fantastic films. Leni Riefenstahl's Triumph of the Will. Yes, I have seen that. I quite like those old propaganda films. Like, I don't like Nazi Germany, of course, but I like Soviet, Nazi, you know, all those propaganda films. They're very interesting to watch, especially because they were so influential on cinema. And you often see in loads of documentaries, it's clips from Triumph of the Will that are used on things. Well, I don't know if they're going to have a civil war, but what I can certainly say is in all these countries, like where we've got it in Britain, where half of us, you know, voted leave of the EU, other half of people wanted to stay. And like, again, any country where you've got big divides, it's not good to basically call the other side idiots and, you know, like racist, traitors or whatever, because, you know, I've got friends and family members that voted either way, and I can respect their opinion because, you know, that's how you should look at it. People will make decisions based on, you know, what their life experiences are and what they intend in the future. You know, stuff like that. But the dangerous thing at the moment is everybody seems to be getting more and more divided in the UK over Brexit, where, you know, it's all these traitors that did this or all these racists that voted leave and whatever. It's just shut the fuck up. Like, my opinion is I voted leave, but, you know, we voted leave, so we should leave, but we should do it in as orderly a way as possible. And, you know, the problem is the longer we draw it out, the more damage it's going to do to the economy because it creates economic uncertainty. If we'd have voted to stay in and I'd still voted leave, and then I said, right, you know, my side didn't win, so what we have to do now is try and reform the EU best we can from the inside. But, you know, it's just the whole thing's just so childish at the moment. Yeah, I'm saying that's the exact problem, Simon, where everybody is so divided that they can't. Because the thing is, there's a very true thing of this. A lot of the time when people have gripes, right, with certain things, they have legitimate reasons to think those things. The issue is quite often that pushes people to more extremist directions. So it's like if you probably honestly find out why some people like communism as an ideology, even in JBO, a lot of people with like communism will say they like communism because they see lots of very bad things done by big companies and, you know, exploitations done through capitalism. And they have completely honest reasons to have those gripes. But to simply say, let's kill a load of people, seize their property, and then everything will be wonderful, is not the fucking truth. You know, it's like pretty much all these things. You know, a good example is when you get people say, you know, always complaining about Muslims and everything, and they go on about Islamic extremism and all this. The thing is, as well, is a lot of Muslims probably see what's happening in the Middle East, you know, with Western countries bombing those, destabilizing them, and then they think jihad is justified, which it isn't. But the problem is, it's not that these people don't have legitimate gripes. It seems like there's no way for a lot of people of expressing those, and then they get drawn into more extremist ideology. So I don't want to really rant about politics like that, but that's kind of my opinion on a lot of that stuff, is generally it's better to talk to people, work things out, you know, You can agree to disagree on things. There will be some things where you definitely can't agree on things, but simply deciding that everybody who isn't in my camp is wrong because they hold a different belief is kind of stupid. If you want to hear a good song, Adam, about war crimes, have you heard Napalm Sticks to Kids? Well, yeah, if they are in the West and they support attacks on the West, then yes, sure. But the problem is, let's say you've got a family in Syria or Iraq or anywhere like that. Let's say their family's killed in basically collateral damage by a Western country which shouldn't be in that country in the first place. I have no doubt that they feel completely justified in believing the West is evil, and needs to be toppled. The thing is, it's very complicated. It's the whole thing, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. Generally, you kind of have to understand where the people are getting their things from, because that's generally how you can improve stuff for everybody. There's generally always a few seconds delay on the stream. Hopefully it's still on. But no, I've not seen Clerks. Yeah, that's the problem, and this is what if Acme's still on, we were sort of saying, I don't know if I'm saying it specifically to Acme, but why it should be good, to try and make people less argumentative on all this gas mask stuff is people who think they're my fans or whatever, say, oh, there's somebody who doesn't like Liam's stuff, so let's insult them. And then that other person will get pissed off. And, it's a vicious cycle where then somebody will say shit about me, and then other people feel more justified about saying shit back or whatever. It's all bollocks, isn't it? Really like that. But, you can agree to disagree with people who have differing opinions. Sometimes you will have to say, I really don't believe what you're saying, but, you perfectly have the right to think that. It certainly benefits companies that make all the munition, doesn't it? Bowser and all the stuff like that, and all the destabilization it can cause. I've read Animal Farm and I've read 1984. I've not read any of his other books, but I've read 1984 quite a few times because 1984 is a very relevant book. The biggest bit that's relevant in 1984, I'm sorry, I'm going to spoil stuff for people. I mean, Newspeak and that is still very relevant and, doublethink. But the thing that I find really relevant is, where he comes up with the thing where he says basically, in a sense, the three superpowers are working together because they never want to really win the war. They want to keep everybody in a war economy where they stay in power. And when you think about it, you can kind of see that probably does happen in the real, worlds of certain countries where there are certain wars, or conflicts that are there kind of just as a show. So certain people, can do well off of them. Fahrenheit 451, yeah, and I've read Brave New World. Fahrenheit 451 is interesting because a lot of people don't bring it up, do they, when they say, are we more like Brave New World or 1984? Because the problem, the thing that's in Fahrenheit 451 is, the thing where people only want to watch like reality TV, don't they? And the idea of why books are banned and books need to be burned is because there's ideas in books that can scare people and make them think, and people don't want to have emotional reactions to things. It's all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Well, there was the Islamic slave trade, Richard, which you probably know about, that, did horrible things to Africa. So did the European slave trade. And one of the things that's really annoying, especially, when people are quite ignorant of history, is when, like William Wilberforce and all that did all the stuff to make slavery illegal. And then people keep saying like, oh, but you British people should pay reparations. It's like, yeah, but wasn't our country also one of the first ones to enforce other countries not, getting slaves as well? It's like America didn't get rid of slavery essentially until the 1860s, pretty much. And that's not like trying to boast, oh, I've got no blood on my hands because I'm English or whatever, I'm British, because Britain's done some fucking horrible things in the past. But it's that kind of thing, isn't it, of simply not everybody could have done bad things, It's let's throw accusations at other people to pretend we're fine kind of thing. Yeah, I do not believe you should ever tear down statues, Survive. because I don't think censoring history is going to fix, you should learn from history. You should never censor it. Like the thing that I find really stupid at the moment in Spain, they're digging up Franco, aren't they? Or they might have already done it to rebury him somewhere else. And they've torn down loads of statues of Franco over the years in Spain, defrancifying it and all that stuff. Yet the current Spanish government is putting people in long jail terms, aren't they, for wanting Catalonian independence? Wasn't that something Franco did? Oh, but we're not Franco. It's that kind of fucking shit that just pisses me off, where people can't see why it's a double standard. Yeah. Where do you live, Brian? You don't have to say if you don't want to, but what country, what sort of state, county, whatever? Yeah, the thing is, I suppose it does depend where they're erected and all that sort of stuff, and what land they're on and that. But again, it's complicated, isn't it? Because I suppose they mean different things to different people. But yeah, if you're on about like Jim Crow era stuff, I don't agree with it. But I also think it's kind of a precedent, because you kind of have that slippery slope type thing as well, though, don't you? Where the issue is, and I know slippery slope can be used as a fallacy and all that, but where people start off with something quite acceptable, and then as soon as somebody does that, it gets worse and worse with what people want changed. But yeah, I can certainly see why that's a dick move, Psycho Govi, like why people would have done that, and I definitely don't agree with it. But yeah, it's hard to say, because I don't have the right answer, because I'm sure whatever you do, some people, exploit whatever your choice is, even if you did it with the best intentions. And that's, the issue that lots of countries have had. It's like with communism, where people have said, oh, but what if communism was tried with just somebody who was really benevolent and good? Because that person would probably be killed or be corrupted, or, just decide that certain groups of people have to be gotten rid of or whatever, because that's the way we're going to achieve our utopia. And, sadly, generally when people have utopian ideas, they end very badly, because forcing people to accept your ideology probably doesn't work very well. It completely depends on which DIAC one they are, and I'll finish the stream fairly soon. Like the Lee Enfield probably has the most moving parts, because the bolt and everything fully functions. It just doesn't have a firing pin in it, and there's a weld in the barrel. But in theory, you could load rounds into it, take the mag out, and all that sort of stuff. The SLR, the mag removes, the charging handle moves, but it's not connected to anything. The RPK, pretty much nothing moves on that except a fire selector. The M1 carbine, the PPSH, not much moves. The M1 carbine, you can do that with it. Mag comes out, and you can partially strip the wood furniture off of this, as I've shown in other things. Oh, and the trigger moves on this one, and the safety moves. So yeah, the M1 carbine in some ways, although it is still what's considered a new spec at the time, does have more moving parts. But again, there's welds in the barrel. You can see where they've drilled into the barrel there and put like a weld inside it. If I do that, you can see where the actual action doesn't move properly, because again, that's been welded. So again, it's not going to fire. The firing pin will have been cut out. And as we've said before on here, that some people won't believe, the issue is that, again, if you have enough money and know the right people in the UK, you can buy whatever kind of illegal firearm you want, because gangland shootings still happen despite, pistols being illegal and all this. You can cut down on certain amounts of crime by doing legislation, but again, if people are still poor and there's like money in drugs or whatever, they're still going to shoot and stab each other over it. Not with current British rules, Andrew, and also because I've got nowhere to shoot them. Just because I don't really see the point in owning. Because the main problem I have with it is, from what I understand from speaking with firearms owners, is, let's say I got a shotgun certificate or a firearms certificate. From what I understand, the police can pretty much turn up for a warrantless inspection of your house to, check your guns are fine. So, that's the issue, that as much as I'm not doing anything illegal, I still don't like the idea of the police at any point being allowed to just come into your house without a warrant Sorry, I probably missed where you said you were, Brian. Let me. Oh, you live in California, yeah. I've heard in some places in like was it San Francisco where they have like loads of problem with just like rubbish and shit everywhere on the streets. It sounds really horrible. Yeah, I mean, if somebody came up with really intelligent legislation that's well thought out, that might work. The issue is simply saying, let's ban something because it's scary or somebody got shot with it. That does not work because that's knee-jerk reactions. And quite a lot of the things we've learned from the UK doing knee-jerk reactions is it's to score political points of a politician going, look, I'm doing something, not actually fixing it. Like where they keep saying, oh, we need to ban more and more types of knives, even though most stabbings in the UK are carried out with kitchen knives. But that's not convenient, so we won't mention that. No more restrictions on kitchen knives. Not there should be, but, oh, Rambo knives, they're scary. Zombie knives, they're scary. When's the next stream? Probably tomorrow at some point, but if I stream tomorrow, it will have to be 6 p.m. sort of time. 6 p.m. or earlier because I'm at a panto rehearsal as usual. Right? There'll be crime no matter what, but you can cut down on the amount of crime if you're, if you have a well-funded police force that are well-trained, respect people's civil rights and things like that. So, they're not really corrupt is what I'm saying. They have good intelligence networks. People can earn a decent living standard, and are happy through legitimate means. You're going to cut down on crime a lot. There are certain environments which will basically breed crime. Yeah, exactly. Survive, not nice, is it? Yeah, and again, yeah, like you say, crime will just change method. Like you outlaw one thing, it doesn't stop somebody then using something else. It might be less effective at harming or killing than something else, but it's still a horrible thing. Hopefully, one of my friends will be free this week, either Thursday or Friday, and hopefully I can then get a video done then, just so you know where it is. There we go. It's there. That's the hazmat suit. So hopefully Thursday or Friday, I will get a chance to do a video with it then, where somebody can, help me get in and out. Because the issue is with a big hazmat suit like that, like I was saying, it's not like an NBC suit where you simply just put the trousers and top on. I've got a tiny bit, but like I said before, I don't like collecting it because it's one of those things in the UK where if you get arrested for something, they can use that to try and make an argument that you're doing hate crimes or whatever else. Weirdly enough, if I collected communist memorabilia, you wouldn't have the same thing said about you, or it's very less likely you would. But also, I don't like the ideology either. Like I said, I've got lots of historical artifacts from different periods, but it's one of those things where, it is a very sensitive subject, isn't it? And I can understand that. Anyway, I've been going on for like 23 minutes longer than I said I would go on for, so I'll finish now. I will pop on the Discord for a little bit tonight, although I'm feeling quite tired now. But as I said, I'll just keep checking it now and then. And try and reply to people and address their concerns, and hopefully people can hear my concerns and whatever. Because it would be nice, wouldn't it, if we can get people to stop arguing over you either have to like my channel or you have to like certain other people's channels. And people can't get along, because it would be much nicer if we could get along. Yeah, thank you, Vladimir. Have a good evening. Or, yeah, it would be evening, wouldn't it? Because you're just a couple of hours in front of us in Russia. Yeah, I assume you're just a few hours in front of us, so good evening to you. Literally $1, £1, Boza, either through Patreon or through YouTube, and you don't have to stay donating either. You can literally donate once and then never donate again. Then I'm never kicking people off if they've donated. So. Yeah, because the thing is, I'm sure, like I said, Chris, as much as I keep saying I'm going off and I don't, I'm sure lots of people have legit concerns, and there's things where people might think, certain things. Because I know when I've had arguments with friends in the past over shit, and you eventually sort it out and stuff like that, quite often you think somebody's really concerned about one thing and they're not, or that person thinks, somebody did something of a certain intention, which is generally not always the case. And then you keep making it bigger and bigger in your head about, kind of almost going to conspiracy kind of, you know what I mean, sort of thing. I hope I'm making that clear, but it's where, it gets more and more less grounded in reality, I'd say. The more people want to argue about stuff. And like I said, I know I can act childish at times and stuff like that. I'm definitely not going to deny that. Anyway, we'll talk about that on the thing, won't we? So, yep. Good evening, everybody. Are you streaming or anything later, Mike? I guess if you're hungover, you're probably not, are you? No, I do not think we're on the brink of the end of the world. I think in reality, if the world ends... Oh, thank you, Bowser. Quickly, before I go, post your Discord ID so I can invite you. Because, yeah, you did it just as I was leaving, but thank you. Please post it now, and I will sort that out for you now. Let me just load up Discord. But you're not on, that's fine, Mike. I might have quite an early night tonight. I'll have a little chat with people on Discord, hopefully. And, yeah. I don't think a war, even if it ended up being nuclear between India and Pakistan, would end the world. It would certainly do a lot of damage to things, but I think the world would literally end if an asteroid of a big enough size hit the Earth. We completely pollute the Earth to the point where we basically kill everything off, or if full, nuclear mutually assured destruction happens. Or potentially, although it wouldn't end the world, if a certain virus or whatever ended up spreading to humans and really effectively killing them off, it would certainly massively change things and be apocalyptic. Whether or not it'd be the end of the world, I don't know. All right, Caveman. Yeah, no. I've seen Captain Caveman. That's an old cartoon I've not watched in yonks. Right, let me just add you to the server. It will send you a friend's request from me. You'll have to accept that. It says Caveman has hired a samurai to slay all friends requests. You'll have to ask them to add you. Are you able to quickly change that so I can add you? Otherwise, it's going to be a bit difficult. Because you can't PM people on YouTube, so I can't send you my Discord ID. And if I put my Discord ID on here, I'll get loads of friends requests from random people. So, are you able just to change it for a couple of minutes so I can send one and then you can just change it back? Let me just keep trying it and see if it works. Even though I said I was going off. Yeah, Band of Brothers is very good. The Pacific's also very good. Yeah, well, escalation's a big thing, isn't it, with atomic war, or essentially hydrogen war, whatever you want to call it, nuclear war. Because, yeah, it's hard to keep it limited, and that's why tactical nuclear weapons, while they sounded good, were quite a stupid idea in the Cold War. Because, yeah, well, if we only throw a small nuke at you, would you please not retaliate with nukes? Well, automatics in terms of modern ones, like high-capacity 9mm pistols, but for cool point revolvers. Let me keep sending a thing. Right, I'll tell you what I'll do, Bowser. I'm going to go to your channel. Let's see, yeah, Davy Crockett with its, 0.3... Is it like a 0.2, 0.3 KT warhead on there? As in like 200 tons sort of thing. Let's see if I can find your YouTube channel separately, because annoyingly I just can't go to your channel from here. Oh, you fixed it. Right, good. That's the easy thing. There we go. I've sent you a thing. You can change it back now if you want, but, you've got me on there. And as soon as you accept that, I can send you an invite, but that's it. Right, I'll go off the stream now. I'll be on Discord fairly soon for having a chat with people. Right, anyway, see you all. I'm off. Have a good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's well. And I will stream tomorrow, but I still don't know the time yet, so bye.